This conference will now be
in the field of
recorded.
SAP for the past 9 years. So I started my career as an ABAPer, and then I just moved to MDG. And so overall in MDG, I have 6 years of experience. So I've done multiple implementations in MDG. So which includes all the modules which are supported by MDG. On top of that, I also built custom data models from the scratch. So this is a very short intro about myself. So I would here to like to hear from yourself as well, so that we can understand what is your requirement, what is your base, and then we can take the session accordingly. So I can see Ankush and Prashop. So Ankush.
This is Prashop here.
Yeah, hi Prashop.
I'm working for Hubble. So Hubble is one of the biggest electronics manufacturing company, electrical products. So currently I'm working on the customer master data administration. So I would like to know our company is not at the MDG is not at in force. We have a department, but they are not actually in force. So we are right now I am working on the MDM only. So I just want to know how this MDG impact and the business and how the modules are working. So I'm looking forward to know the in details about the MDG.
Okay. So may I know how
So what
many
is
years of
impacting from the
experience you
MDM?
have in MDM?
I'm total experience in 11 years in the data management. So before that, I was working for the Johnson Controls for the material data management. For that, I was using MFG Pro and other software for the data analyzing and cleansing everything. So right now, I just moved to Hubble. Prior to this, in between, I worked for KPMG, and then I moved to I moved to data management. So here in Hubble, I have 4 years of experience in MDM.
Okay, great.
So I'm not in the technical side, so that's why I'm looking forward to get the technical knowledge on this. So I'm actually in the functional side.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks, Prashop. Ankush?
Yes, sir.
Sorry if you're speaking, I'm not able to hear you.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, sir, I have completed my BCA. Now I'm looking for a career in SAP MDG.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you are kind of a complete fresher to the SAP module itself.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. And we have so Nikita, do we have anyone else?
Yeah, we can start presentation.
Okay. Okay. So so what I'm going to do in this session is, so I'll just going to explain the front end process of an end user, how they are going to use an MDG. And while doing that, I'm going to talk about the backend stuff for the technical details or the functional details, which was involved in that. And then based on that, and also explain the curriculum or the course content which we are going to go through in the upcoming days. So first, why MDG or why any master data management? So the main reason is, as a system owner, as a business, I don't want any duplicate data in the system, because all the duplicate or the incorrect data will cost cost to a company. Okay, so it might be a reputation or the business or the so whatever it is. So there are a lot of different ways it can impact the business. For example, if I have a customer with the wrong address, then during delivery and other stuff, it will lead, it will go into a different customer, or it is again a cost. If I have a duplicate material in my system, so I may not know that the order data is the material is available in my warehouse, where without knowing that, what I may do is I might end up in adding purchasing the same material again, and it is a loss of cost. So if I have an incorrect bank data of a supplier, then I might end up in transferring amount to a wrong account. So everything is leads to a cost and also the credibility of the organization. So that's where nowadays most of the organizations are um, very much focused on the master data, because based on that master data only, all the transaction, all the business which are revolving around, or which the business is doing, is based out of that master data. So that's where we have multiple not only SAP, we have a lot of other organizations having this master data management tool. So when we talk about SAP, so earlier also we had a tool. So again, I know Prashav, you might be aware of that SAP MDM is a tool, which is a kind of
Yeah.
acquired tool, not an a tool which was created and developed by MDG, whether it is acquired and then later adapted by SAP. So the main
Okay.
thing why they are moving to MDG is, so the thing is, it's a different stack altogether. When we talk about an architecture perspective, the system perspective, all the SAP system mainly based on ABAP stack. So ABAP is nothing but a language through which all the SAP systems are managed. Okay.
Yeah.
So nowadays they are moving into a kind of a open forums, but main things at the back end technical, we have something called ABAP. That is a language like C, Java, where we can write the programs and other stuff. MDM is a kind of a different stack altogether. It's a Java stack. So for SAP, it is difficult thing to manage or always get this functionality sync between MDM to MDG. Okay. For
Mhm.
example, I just wanted to introduce a new field or some advancement in the IDOC processing. So that it is a difficult. They have to do the two works, one in MDM and also in MDG. Also in ECC or the SAP box. So that is a
Okay.
difficulty. That was a challenge. So that's where they started, create started to create a master data tool, a governance tool, uh, with the tools which they are having in ECC. Okay, so I will talk about the different tools or methods, what I'm talking about. So it started in 2011, and then so the first version was kind of it was in ERP 5. So I'm talking about the different versions, and then we have MDG 6, 6.1, 7, 8, 9, 9.1, 9.2. So now the latest version in MDG is SAP MDG 9.2 on ECC. So there are again two versions of SAP. Okay. Uh,
Mhm.
One is normal ECC box. Another one is SAP S4. Okay.
Yes.
For MDG, there are two versions to cope up with these two different products. One is SAP MDG 9.2 on ECC. Another one is S4 MDG 18.09. Okay, so 18.09 is nothing but the year of the release. So like year is 18 and the September is a month when the product got released to the public. So that's where it is mentioned as S4 Mdg 18.09, and sooner there is going to be another release as well. Okay, so this is about Mdg. So then the issues which I talked about earlier, so the duplicate data, or redundant data, or incorrect data, how it is being managed using a tool, or what difference it makes when I directly create a master data in the backend system, or how how it is going to eliminate that issues when we are doing it in MDG. So that is the next question which will come up. So let's say I want to create an let's say I just wanted to create a customer in ECC. Okay, or earlier solution, even without MDM, if I want to create a customer. So how I'll generally do is we have certain things called transaction code. So transaction code is nothing but maybe for the understanding of everyone. So let me I think I'm sharing my screen. So let me okay. So a transaction code is nothing but in SAP we call this a transaction kind of a specific program, an application, a shortcut to an program where you can perform certain activities. So in MDG in SAP, for example, I have a transaction code. Let's say I'll just start creating a customer, so a known master data. So like since it's so for a business partner. It's not responding. Just give me a minute.
Srini, can I ask
Yep.
you a question?
Yes, please.
So you said it's a different stock, like MDG and the MDM are different tools. So is there something different from the SAP or the tool that you use apart from the SAP? Is there any uh, transaction codes or T codes come under the SAP?
To access the tools, or no, I'm not sorry. I'm not getting the complete question. I'm not
Is
able
there
to
a
understand.
different software or something?
No, so so I'll be talking about that. So here, for example, you might be worked with ECC, right? So generally the
Yeah.
data will be finally reaching the ECC or S4 box.
Yes.
So this is a kind of an add-on. MDG is nothing but
Oh,
it's not
okay.
a different tool. It's an add-on on ECC.
Oh,
Either it
oh, okay.
can be implemented
Mhm.
or activated. I would say activated within ECC, or it can be, for example, I can have so again there is something called deployment model. So I'll be
Yes,
talking
yes.
about that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll not confuse it. Let's say I want to create a customer. So then we have a something called a T code XD01.
Yeah.
So where I can create a customer. It's a kind of a form. So I can fill in all the details. Okay. So I'm not sure
Yeah,
how much
I
the
know about
system
this.
is configured.
Yeah.
Okay. So where we can fill all the details and then we can create a customer. Okay. This is
Okay.
for Ankush. Maybe he is very new, right? So I'll
Ah,
just.
yeah, no problem.
So that's where this is how we create it. So the moment we create it or save it, so the data will be available in certain tables. So, for example, in this case, we have KNA1, which holds the customer data. So again, that is a table name where the customer data will get stored. And once it is stored, there is no restriction in ECC because the data can be readily available for any transaction. So for example, if it is having an incorrect data, there is no such external validations of which is available in the system, so that which will stop you from doing the transaction on the specific customer. Okay. So here, without any additional governance or any additional power, audit, the data will get stored and it will be available in the available for the use. So that is the biggest challenge, because human tends to make mistake. So there can be any mistakes, for example a typo. So anything can happen while creating and there is no governance at all. So the moment you save it, the data will be available for a transaction, which is not a good right way of managing a master data. So there should be someone who should monitor, who should approve the request, because it is not a simple data, because all the transactions are performed based on that, and they each master data can even there are the bank accounts which might worth a million rupees to the business. Okay. So that sensitive these data are. So that's where, so the governance is very much important on the master data which we are creating. So how this has been eliminated by the Mdg solution. So let me show you the Mdg screen. Okay, this is the backend. So when we talk about Mdg, everything is a front end. The web-based application or a mobile-based application. Mobile-based application, I'm saying. So we have something called Fiori apps, which is a kind of hybrid application which can be opened in desktop, tablet, and even mobile as well. Okay.
Okay.
That is one thing. The most of the front end, and now in so these Fiori applications came from start available with Mdg since Mdg 8.0 and Mdg Mdg 9 and 9.2 will have, and S4 by default the front end is uh, Fiori applications. Okay, so we have again two different ways of uh, accessing the application, which we'll be discussing later. So let's say I'll take these. So we have something called NWBC, which is a common application to access any Mdg applications. Okay, so I'm not going to confuse you here. We will be discussing more, but let me show the front end. So here, based on the role, so this is the front end. For example, the moment the user will be given with an URL to access the application. So he'll not go and access the backend. So the one which I showed is a backend kind of application. So generally the end user will not access that application. So rather, even if they access, they will have only the display purpose, not the creation or change purpose. Okay, in Mdg when we talk about. So here we have different. So these are based on the roles. We have different tools. So here, for example, I have material governance through which I can create or change uh, materials, and we have let's take the customer governance. So based on the user profile in the organization, he will be assigned with a specific role. So only those kind of activities can be governed in MDG. So we will be talking about how the roles can be created. So the thing is, let me take a notepad. So we will be talking about roles and the authorization object. For example, I'm a user, customer. I'm from the department of customer management. Then I should not able to access, material data. I should not able to create a material. So those kind of things are how it has been managed using, MDG. This SAP roles concept is a kind of a very generic one. It applies to all the modules in SAP. Whereas we will be talking about what's specific in MDG, and I'll show you how to create a role and how to manage what are the different authorization we can enable and check during the creation specific for MDG. And in the real project, what happens is we have definitely will have someone called a security consultant who will be performing all these roles management. So from a functional perspective, there are certain inputs which we need to provide to them. So like so now it will be a bit different. So you will find something difficult to understand. So here we have to provide certain inputs like what is the data model the end user should have access to, whether he should able to create a change request of this particular data or not. So those kind of details we have to provide. Based on that, he will perform the activity. Okay, so here the main role is from a security consultant, but we need to understand something on this so that we can easily provide the input to the roles team. So based on the roles, so we can see all these applications which is available. Okay, for example, I want to create a customer. So the starting point in MDG, are the standard way of creating any customer or is we have something called search screen where you can search for an asset. So generally, if you want to create an asset, generally when you want to create as a master data, you can search with that and see whether the data available in the system or not. If it is not available, then you create it. So what happens is this will avoid creating a duplicate. Okay, this is not the one way, but this is only way. uh, we have something called duplicate check and other stuff, so which we'll be discussing. So let's say I'll try to check with test. So I'm not sure how much the system is configured, so I just got this access today. So let's check. So we have different attributes which can be configurable, which is configurable. So based on that business requirement, we can configure the different attributes and we can search with it. So here the thing is, it is a fuzzy search. Let me check that the fuzzy search is enabled. Okay. For example, I want to search for a customer. Okay, I might not know the complete details of the customer, or I have only part, few details of the customer. So when we talk about this search screen, I'll just from a front end perspective, what they will do is they have a few details, and based on that they can search it. And obviously, the spelling cannot be correct all the time. So here we have something called fuzzy search, which is a kind of error tolerant search. So I don't have the complete name or the complete detail. Let's say we have something called search text, so which will search for the complete master data and see if it is something available for that. So based on the different parameters, you can see the search results changing. And we have something called ranking, so which is how much percentage the data is matching with the the search input which you are giving. For example, I'm just searching with text, test. So I can see 100% match because these are the customers which is having the first name as test. Okay, so let's say I'll change test, so which is not the complete name, but still the results give you the day the application will give you certain results, but with the ranking list. So this is nothing but how much percentage it will match. So these are the application you can see. For example, Tessa, it's like 70%, and TED is matched with 82%, and test is matching 89%, because it might be having test 10226 is the last name, so that's why it's giving a less number of figure. Okay, so here we are talking about search, and especially Hana Search. How to configure, what are the configuration behind it, how I can enable a new field for search, what are the configurations associated with that. So those kind of things we will be discussing. So once you see that the search, the data is available or not available, so you can, if it is available, if you want to change one, you can click on that specific master data, and then it will open a new screen with the complete details of the master data. So being it a material, customer, supplier, business partner, any financial object, or even customer object. So this is how the application will work. You can search, and even for all the application you can enable the Hana Search, and based on the Hana Search results you can open the customer, and you can see all the customer details. Okay, I think there is some issue with this configuration. Let me close. Let me try to create a new customer. So when we are trying to create or change a customer, so MDG is driven by something called change request. This is nothing but any changes you are making to the master data should be captured in a change request. For example, you want to change a description, bank details, any changes to the master data. In MDG, we have a process through which it should get changed. This is nothing but a change request. So change request is nothing but a container which will hold your changes until it get approved. For example, I'm say I want to change the description of a customer, change the name of the customer. So I'll in ECC or in the backend, how you do is you go to the specific ticket XD01 and may change the name and then save it. It will be available in the table KNA1. Whereas here, that is the important point of which we want to eliminate. So here what happens is change request. This is where the data will get locked, or you can identify. This is like a kind of a service request which you create. For example, if you are going to a bank and you want to submit a loan application, so there can be different types of loan which you can avail: home loan, personal loan, and car loan, bike loan, whatever the loan is. So if we have different forms for each of the application based on the data which you want to perform, and based on based on the application you are submitting, the process will be different. For example, if you are submitting an personal loan, so then they will check they will check certain things like your CIBIL score, and it will go to a different person for an approval, and then it will get credited in a very short time. If you are taking a home loan, then it will be a lengthy process where they will check some other details, and they will check the house, property, all these details, and on then they will approve the request, right? So it's like the change request is nothing but it's a different process. Based on the organization need, you can create different change requests, and each of the change request type you can have a different workflow. For certain types of customer creation, I want just an approval from the customer master data team. Okay, for example, if I want to create a customer with certain specific groups, account groups, okay, so then I need approval from the finance team as well. Okay, then I'll, or the sales team or sales organization team, so then I'll have to create a different CR type for that specific reason. So, and based on the CR type, you can incorporate the validations which you want to ensure. Okay, if it is a CR type of type 1, okay, then you can create a you can mention that, okay, these are the fields are mandatory, uh, like that. Okay, so I'm just telling at a very high level, so you can check which are the fields mandatory, what kind of derivations needs to be done. So all these things can be done in this, based on the change request. Okay. So as of now, what you can consider is change request type is nothing but a container or a process uh, based on which the workflow, the validation, everything will be defined in the system. Okay. So based on that, the master data which you have entered will undergo the validations and the workflow. Let's say I'll take, so for example, here we have a create customer 2-step approval, 3-step approval, 4-step approval. Okay, a lot of approvals are there, and you can also configure the screens based on the CR type as well. Okay, let me go with the 2-step approval. So I'll just filling some data. So this is a change request which is Mdg specific data. So here you can enter why you are creating, what is the attached, you can enter a detailed description why this particular master data is getting created, and this will be used as an audit purpose. So whenever there is a question why this customer has been created in the system, so this is how they we can backtrack and understand what is the change request, who created it, who approved it, and why is there any attachment, or is there any detailed document on documentation on the creation or the change. So that is something will be captured in these change request block, and then the rest of them are specific to the master data. So here we are saying that the district is mandatory, so let me put district is mandatory. Postal code. So let's say I'll enter certain key, and then I'll enter certain city as well. Then I'll do check. So what it does is based on the data which you are entering, so it will check whether is there any data available. So is there any duplicate available or not. Zip code not filled. Zip code is what. So if there is any duplicate, then there will be a pop-up showing this is the master data, for example. So yeah. So with the data which you have entered, so these are the data which are available similar to the data which you have entered. So you can review it, and if it is a potential duplicate, again it is a potential duplicate, and you can see something called score. This is the score, and based on the score result, so again these are configurable. Okay, So how is the system? Is it the data available, or are you creating any duplicate? That is something you will able to understand, and then based on that you can continue with the existing master data, or you can create a new one. Okay, so let's say I'll create a new one. So we will be talking about Hana Search and duplicate check. Okay, so this is something can be performed by a business partner, supplier, and material. So we have this duplicate check, which is not which will help you to avoid creation any master data with the duplicate data. So with the in creation of duplicate master data, once that is done, so I'm just mention very mandatory data. I can submit the request. Once the request, so here what happens is it will create a change request, and then the change request. So you can see you have submitted a change request number 328. So this is the number, or this is the container through which the data will get moved throughout the MDG process. So where this data will be stored is this will not be available in the backend table. So the normal tables where we are using this for transaction, this will not be available in the backend table. So rather we have something called staging area or staging tables, where the data will be get stored. How these staging tables are created? So that is that that is the next question. So the staging we have something called data model in MDG. Okay, this is specific to MDG. So where we define, okay, these are the fields I want to maintain in MDG, and these are the different tables I want to maintain in MDG. So we will define these things in the data model. Okay, so based on the data model definition, the backend staging tables will get created in the system. So again, so the data model is the main concept which we are going to, the first concept which we'll be discussing when we start checking this, start working on the MDG stuff. Okay, so we will be discussing what are the different data models available, standard data models available, how you can extend, enhance a data model, how you can create a custom data model. So all these things we will be discussing. So any questions here till now?
No, it's okay. And the problem with that question is actually all this requires, when it comes to MDG. So we are doing the same thing in the front end for the transaction codes, right? So I think it's MDG. We required and certain approvals, right? Moving
Right.
to each changes, right? So in the MD, when it comes to the transaction like business process, so we don't need that. We are right now we are moving to the business approvals like finance, sales, and we are directly making the changes. The only thing that I could see is there we cannot see the duplicates like such criteria like you said in the data models, how the tables required. So all those things in one place we cannot see that. So but we can also check the duplicates in your transaction code BP and XT03, something like that, so but it required a manual intervention, right? So that is the only difference that I could see right now. Is
Okay.
that correct?
It's maybe this is not the complete picture.
Yeah, understand.
So the thing over here is again from a system perspective, MD is so why now the big transaction is from MDM to MDG. Most of the organizations are moving from MDM to MDGs. MDM is will not be supported by SAP officially from 2020.
Okay.
So that's
Is
where
that because they are moving to HANA?
moving to HANA in the sense there will not be any new releases for the MDM solution,
Oh,
and there
okay,
will
okay.
not be any official support by SAP from MD to MDM. So I'm not,
Mhm.
if I'm not wrong, it's 2020, but in near future the SAP is not going to support it. That is something they have officially announced it, and they are
Yeah, even
focusing
the
only on
modules
the.
will not be there, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Even the modules that also going to disappear from that SAP, right? So like ST, so they are also going to move to HANA. So I think what I heard from the industry is like, after 5 years, these modules will not be there. So we don't need to study the each modules. It will be, it will come customized like logistics. Right now, it's in HANA, it's master data and inbound logistics like material and uh, the procurement comes. And when that comes to that outbound logistic, the SD, all this comes together, right? So this is what I heard from the my friends all in the world, around the world. Like SAP will be removing the modules. So like ST, there will be that, but they are not going
Yes,
to
SAP is,
use those.
on a high level, they are, trying to simplify the, solution
Yeah,
for the business, because
correct.
earlier we have to, there are a lot of back office where they to populate, all the details. So now it is available to the for you end users. The same
Yes,
way, the
correct.
configurations and everything, which are, for creation of a material, if you want to do, you have to do lot of configurations in the system. Okay, it's not,
Hmm.
readily available. If
Yes.
so, and so those kind of configurations will not be, so they are trying to simplify those configurations. So they are trying to simplify a lot, so that, there will not be much transactions, as you mentioned, and there will not be much demand, work at the back end, rather, and they are moving to the cloud, and all the other stuffs are going. So there
Yeah.
are a lot of changes, not only in SAP,
Yeah, even
globally, in all the, uh, IT. So there is a big change happening. Yes,
yeah,
but
that's a far.
yes, please. Sorry.
Yeah, no, no problem. You can continue.
Yes, but it will take a few years, as you mentioned. So in near future, that is going, not in near future, but maybe in the, span of 5 years to, 7 years. That will
Yes,
that
yes,
is that is
that's
what,
exactly.
SAP is planning.
Yeah, correct. And one more thing is, it's already in place. Like now, vendor and customer is in one place.
Hmm.
So it is happening right now. When they moved HANA, they removed the T codes.
Right.
Right now, it come to.
Yes.
Uh,
So yes, so in
yeah,
ECC, we have different decodes to create a customer, a different decode to create a supplier, and different
yes,
customer, decode to create a business partner. Whereas in S4, it is single decode. The other decodes are obsolete. So we have something
yeah,
called BP,
yes.
which is nothing but a business partner, through which the customer and vendor can be created by giving an associate, appropriate roles.
Okay. So my question is, all this happening right now. So as a business perspective, so what is the importance of being working on the MDG? So like duplication, everything is okay. So but in other side, we can also check the duplications and cleansing everything.
Mhm.
And what is how it would be important to implement the MDG in an organization?
Okay. So when you talk about importance, it's not about the duplicate check. I've just given, one example how you can avoid a redundance. So so to talk about the governance process, okay, the
Mhm.
governance is very important, right? So that's where, if I have an access, I cannot go and create a customer.
Yeah.
Okay, I should not. But I have given an access. Okay, and the system will not stop me to create a customer in the backend when I have an access. So there is no
Yes.
governance. There is no one is approving the request. Okay.
No, actually, okay, you are saying that the system in this the system is approving, but in other case we are getting the approvals from the through emails. Uh, only after that only we can create any data in the SAP. From the
No,
customer perspective, we
I
cannot create
completely
directly.
agree.
Go and create that. Yeah,
Yes, but human can tend to make mistake.
yeah, correct. That's absolutely correct. And I think that MDG is concentrating on that one.
Yes,
Pointing out to the duplication,
the
removing the
main thing is the
duplications.
governance on the, governance and audit on the master data which is getting, created in the system. So now,
Mhm.
as I mentioned, so I have submitted a request. It will not be available at the backend. So earlier you used to get an email approval from the business. Okay, now
Yeah, correct.
the business needs to approve it. So you create it. So the business can start using the application, and someone from the business can approve the request whether the master data are right or wrong, and then the data will get created. So it is a complete change in process of master data, and there is no back and forth emails and all the other stuff is required, and everything is properly audited in the system. Okay, we know who created it, who approved it, what was the change. Everything will be captured in a system, because the impact will not be known for a very minor small customer. But when we are talking about supplier, for example, I'm just talking for supplier, so where the company needs to the business needs to transfer a lot of amount to work a supplier,
Hmm.
and the bank data which you have entered, instead of 5 zeros you have put 4 zeros,
Hmm.
and that's it. Okay, so the
Yeah.
impact is a big. So that's where all the organizations are focusing on this. They are trying to streamline all the business process, master data creation using MDG. So I'm talking
Okay.
not only the master data, even they wanted to streamline. For example, you want to create a um, what we call you want to configure certain currencies or configurations or trading partners. Okay,
Hmm.
trading partners, so everything can be managed using MDG. So the organization, how they are taking this master data, they don't want to limit with the one which is provided by SAP. They want to have this governance process for all the configurable or the master data which they having in the system. Okay, so that is how the business is taking seriously on the master data.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. I agree with that. But again, is that a two different place that we are creating the accounts? For example, if customer is being created in the using the transaction code, and you said it can be used also created through the MDG. So once the problem is once for the MDG, it is also going to the it is not directly going to create at the first time. After the approvals only it get created, right?
Right.
So uh, are these data going to consolidate into one?
So we
So after
have
creating,
no. So the thing is, we have something called consolidation as well. So first, the consolidation which you are talking about is, for example, the backend. So once the MDG is in place, there will not be any access to the user to the backend T codes. Okay.
oh,
So
okay.
once it is implemented, MDG is going to be the only front end where they can create a
Oh,
master data.
oh, okay, okay. That
Okay,
now
so
I
because
got it
they
now.
can search for the customers, they can see all the details, and if they wanted to create, they can create, and change, they can change it. Okay, there is no consolidation. But again, when we talk about an MDG implementation,
Mhm.
there are two different ways how you can implement an MDG. So we will be discussing all these in a brief section. So since it's a kind of a short demo, I just wanted to
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
discuss about this. So for
Yeah, I can
example,
understand. No problem.
so here we talked about data model. So as I mentioned, data model is the through which you can mention, okay, these are the fields I want to manage using MDG. And
Yes.
then the screen which you are seeing is something called UI configuration. So we will be discussing about UI modeling. What are the different things we can achieve using UI? So for example, I can customize it, I can add certain fields, I can remove certain fields. How you can do it? You can create a complete block. So that is something we will be discussing in the UI modeling topic. And the change request is something called, we call it as a process modeling.
Okay.
Okay, and then the workflow.
Yes.
So for example, now I have submitted the request. You have something called workflow log to understand to whom it got went for an approval. So that is
Okay.
something
So
you can understand here from a requester. They can see it here itself.
for this, I think everyone in the organization should have access to SAP, right?
Here not everyone. So again, the specifics to the stream, they can have the access. Okay. So here we have. So these are the different persons who can approve the request. Okay, only
Mhm.
these person can approve it. How they can approve it? I don't have an access to these users, so our test users. So let's say I'll open an account, a master data which is pending for my approval. Okay, let
Okay.
me. go to my change request inbox. So this is kind of change request inbox. So here they can see what are the requests which they can create or approve it. Let's see. What I'll do is I'll assign the change request which I got created to myself from the backend. So this is just for the demo purpose. So these things I'll explain you what are the different things which can be possible at the backend. So for time being, I'll just do it on myself. So what happens is, once any change request will come to our details, for your approval, you can get the corresponding, a button like approve or reject button here, and based on that, the request can be approved by you. So that is what I'm trying to show it. I don't have that access with the test user. Excuse me. Sorry, I don't have the access for the test user. So what I'll do, what I'll want to show us. So let's say, if there is any request is pending for your approval, you can see it in the change request inbox. And the moment you open it, so you will see approve buttons.
Okay.
So you see the approve or reject button. So based on the master data, once you approve it, so then based on the workflow, if it is you are the final approver or if it is one step or two step approval, so then it will go to the next step, next person for that specific approval, and then they once all the approvals are done, so the change request will get created, sorry, approved, and then the data will be available in the system, the backend tables. So until then, it will not be available. It will be available in the staging area. Okay. So here we will be talking about the, in detail discuss how we can configure the workflow, what are the different possibilities we can configure, how you can customize these. So that is something we will be discussing in detail.
Okay.
And then we'll be discussing more about how, for example, when we create a the customer, so there are a lot of validation. Please enter this field for this for the customer from
Yes.
country India, the postal code is mandatory, district is mandatory. So based on that, you can write a lot of validation on the system, through which you can ensure that all the mandatory fields on the corresponding fields are populated by the system, as
Mhm.
populated by the user and validated before submission itself. Okay, so these kind of validations and derivations can be written. So any questions on the end-to-end process? So like as I mentioned, so you can search for a customer, and where we are talking about the search, and then the data modeling is a concept where you can mention what are the different skills you can include in the master data management, and UI concept comes in where you can build or configure the front end, and then you can after entering the data, once you submit it, the process modeling and the workflow comes in, where you can mention to whom the request should go, who can approve it, who after approval what should be the next step. All these things will be defined in the process modeling and workflow. And then we have validations and derivations, where you can mention what are the fields mandatory, what are the different validations you want to make sure that this master data should goes through. So that is something will be configured and written in the validations and derivations. And then once
Okay.
approval, the data will be finally approved.
Oh, okay.
And then we have something called replication concept. So there are again, if you want to replicate the data to multiple systems, even if you are creating an MDM, so the data will be replicated to ECC via idocs, so those kind of replications can happen, is possible in MDG. You can send it to any SAP or non-SAP system using the replication modeling.
Mhm.
Any questions?
As of now, I don't have much questions. I'm also new to that MDG process. As I told you that I'm an administration for main data maintaining for the customer. So it most of them looks like similar to me, but apart from the configuration side,
Yeah.
all other creations approvals is okay for me. So I'm doing that for years, and I know how it works. So I see something is different here in the MDG.
So the thing here
So
is,
that's good.
yes, you don't, uh, from the master data which you are entering is, there is no question. So you have the complete understanding what are the different fields, how it is being managed. So the thing over here is how it will be available in the data model, how will be available in MDG, how you can bring it in the UI, and how you can, build the workflow. All these things is something different or something specific to MDG.
Okay, how you said about the MDGs, and is it more about configuration and how the data need to be entered, right? So
Sorry.
for the
Can you
front
come
end,
again?
MDG, now we have discussed about the configuration and all modeling
Mhm.
and validation, everything. So we are actually creating the validation and derivations and the attributes. What are the required for a customer?
Mhm.
So is it something useful for the front end user? That might be, for example, for a director, the business
Mhm.
director, the business
Okay.
manager. They do not need to know all these things. They just
So
want
they
to know
don't
the
need to
customer.
understand that. So we have something called some kind of reporting tools available. For example, they
Okay.
want to understand, okay, what are the business, how many, not about the director. For example, owner of that, master data. So they
That
want to
means
understand,
maybe that administrator database or a steward or something like that.
yeah. So they can understand. So there are different reportings available in the tool, because they are not actually going to create any master data. Whereas they want to understand what is the data, how it is getting created or modified, what pattern, what is the frequency, and then
Mm-hmm.
how it is getting being managed.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something can be, there are certain reporting tools for these guys to understand, for example, I want how many customers got created, how many requests got created, what was the time taken for those customers to create it. For example, I have submitted a request today.
Mm-hmm.
So the request should be approved by multiple persons, but so it will not
Yes.
happen in a daytime. So it will take 2 days, 3 days.
Yes. Yes.
Based
Correct.
on that, it may go into back and forth. Approve or reject the request. Again, the submit request needs to repopulate certain data and submit it. So it may go, back and forth, and then it may take certain times. So these kind of process, how the master data is, being managed in MDG is something can be, understood based on the reports. So we have, from here, these are the reports, and we have, Fiori, where we have, few more detailed reports on understand how it is being managed. So this will be
Okay.
specific for the, the stewards and the, the leads, so that
Okay.
they can
Okay.
improve the process.
Okay. Understand. No problem.
Okay.
Here on you said about the change request, right? So if I want to create a new customer,
Mm-hmm.
so that means there is nothing in the system as of now.
Mm-hmm.
So how it would be start, like starting with a new customer. So the same process is happening for the approval or workflow.
Yeah, so that is something can be defined by the, the business. So,
Uh,
the business
yeah.
should tell, okay, how it should go. So based on that, the MDG can be configured.
Okay. Okay. So MDG is the backend, no?
MDG is not a backend. So as I mentioned, it's an add-on tool only for governance. So there are two different ways of implementation. One is hub model, and we are talking about co-deployment as well. So
Mhm.
where you can enable this MDG functionality on the existing ECC box, so that you can
Okay.
govern all the data, or you can create a new system,
Oh, oh. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
copy of ECC, or the same box like ECC, but where you enable only the MDG functionality.
Okay.
You will not perform any transactional data in that MDG hub. So most
Okay.
of
So
the
only the
organization goes
governance
with,
happen.
yeah, only the master data creation and
Oh,
management will happen in that.
okay, I got it. So once all this happens, and we will create the data, then the data will be transferred to the
Yes,
mainstream, right?
yes,
To
like
the
MDM.
database.
Yes,
Okay, correct, correct. Yeah, got it. So all the business approvals, how the data need to be go through, and what are the approvals required, everything will be saved in the MDG tools
yes.
for the transaction and audit purpose. So can we store the files
You can, save that, upload
like
attachments to the
attachments?
change
Yeah.
request, and all these things are possible.
Okay. Sometimes we have to store, discussions. So like why we are changing this. So
Yeah.
all this maybe that might be done through emails. So once I
Yes.
can save that and I can store into this as a audit for the proof or the for
Yeah,
the
that's
later
right.
purpose.
So while creating a change request itself, you can mention why you are creating. You can mention the detailed
Yeah.
notes and the attachments if you have any
It,
links. So that is something possible.
is
So
this calls
generally it will
actually
be added.
this calls covered for a entire data management or just a customer or focusing only on the material, or are you doing everything on this?
Sorry, you are asking about the
Yeah,
MDG
right now I'm
solution
from
or the?
no, I'm from the customer field, and when we are into the course, are you taking all this the headers like
Okay.
materials?
So how we'll be taking is, the concept is, you know, more or less the same for all the master data, but we will
Mhm.
be, taking any one specific standard data model and a custom data model. Okay, I'll create
Okay.
something from the scratch to make you understand how the data model and everything works from the
Okay.
backend, and then we will be taking one standard data model. So in your case, we can take the customer data model and we
Yes.
can configure the system accordingly, and then we can move forward.
So yeah, and right, because in current industry, all the people, all the recruitment agencies, all the companies, when they are hiring for the customer data administrator or the master data maintenance,
Yes.
master data management, unless they are asking for the MDG as well. So they are asking for the how long you are working for the MDG.
Yes.
But
So
the
MDG is
in
currently
fact,
it's a very niche skill now. There are a lot of demands
yeah,
in the markets.
yeah. But in fact, most of the companies not yet implemented that. So in
Yeah.
my company, that's not yet in place. They are doing through the emails and discussions and everything. That's like a traditional business process. So I think it would take time, but I could see that there are MDG tools are in MDG keywords available when I do a master data mass changes. So I
Hmm.
think there are some places it is affected.
No, mass changes also there are something, we MDG have mass change functionality. So we have
Okay.
something called consolidations, file upload, mass change. So there are a lot of, functionalities available in MDG to perform, changes in a massive way.
Okay.
So that is not a limitation in MDG. So we have the tools, and once we are discussing about all the topics which I mentioned, we will
It
be
is
discussing
yeah,
about those consolidations and other stuff as well in the
no
session.
problem. No problem. Is that something similar to the Win shuttle process? This master data? Do we need to write a script or something?
No, 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 no. For example, let me show you one mass change functionality.
Okay.
So there are two things. So one which I'm showing is in the ECC box, or sorry, not in ECC
Okay.
box, in the MDG 9.0. So we have some Fiori applications as well. So which is a
Mhm.
more advanced version. So currently I don't have the links and other stuff. So that's why I'm going through here. Okay, for example, I want
Customer,
to, yeah, customer.
the customer is still on the Fiori. I'm not sure because we are not in customer yet. We are just using the Fiori for the SCM supply chain and
No, no, no,
yeah.
customer is there, but I don't have the link now to show the consolidation process.
No problem. That's asking about my
Yeah.
view and my experience. We are not
So let's say,
even yet to that.
okay, so let's say I'll search for certain. So you can, filter the condition. So there are two things. One, if you want to change a specific field for all the customers, and the other thing is you want to change a different field.
No, only
Um,
maybe something specific.
yeah.
Maybe it would be a request to change the customer group 4 or maybe the business partner. So that request came like that, comes like that.
Okay. So in that case, so you can use this mass change application. So where you can
Okay.
mentor, which field you want to change, and based on
Mhm.
that, only that specific field will be changed. For example, for 10, there are around 100 customers. Where if you want to change that specific field to value A for all the 100
Mhm.
customers, then you can use this mass change application. So
Oh, okay.
here, so that is something is available, and there is a consolidation process. For example, for all the 100 customers, you want to update it to a different account groups. Okay.
Mhm.
So then you can use the consolidation process or the file upload. So through which you can change different values for different customers and get it approved. So the mass
Oh.
changes. So these kind of mass functionalities is available. Um,
Mhm.
so which can be used for the purpose.
Okay. It looks like symbol.
Yeah. So you don't have to use any so like Win Shuttle, the scripts and other things are not required.
Are you
So
are you are you familiar with the wind shuttle?
I have, not directly worked with it, but I was there in a team where we have,
Yeah.
migrated from Minshuttle to MDG.
Okay. Okay. I know that actually TX shuttle is right now it's get more complicated. When it moves to HANA. So when we want to change a sales area, the problem is it is not like we need to say, if you have a more divisions in a company, so it is not easy to pick the correct division from that. So if you have to run some formulas, it is very complicated right now. So they are asking for us to pay more. If you want to add more, like if I want to add more functionality to the script, they are asking for more money. So we
Okay.
have to invest more and more. You know, it's like very very difficult for us to make the changes through TX shuttle, and even the XT99 is also got very difficult. There are many checks right now in HANA. They are checking entire data in the database. So if there is any small error or small issues with the data, it won't change. So we have to manually change that data. So this
Okay.
is all happening in the HANA and TX shuttle, the mass change.
Okay. So I don't think you might having that issue. So when, for example, in the consolidation process, for there are around 1,000 customers you want to update it. There are few customers with error. Okay,
Mhm.
possibly a data issue or some other issue. So then once you upload it, upload the file, you can prepare a file and you can upload it. And if there is any issue, you can remove that error, customers with only with those or with error, and then you can update the rest
Okay.
of the customers. So that those kind of functionalities are available with consolidation. So you can simply
Mhm.
right click and remove the error records, and you can continue with the process so that the process will continue.
Okay. Okay. So is that something real time changes happening for the database, the mass changes, or again we need to deploy that?
Uh, Deploy in the sense, yes, we have to mention what are the different configurations, and once that is done, approved, so
Mhm.
yes, the changes will be available in real time.
Production, right?
Yeah, in production. So
Okay,
again,
fine.
based on the system, if it is on top of ECC, it will be real time, and if it is in a different system, it may take certain minutes to replicate it
Reflect
from
that.
yeah, reflect it in
Oh,
ECC.
yeah, I can. It's like same thing like how the production data got refreshed in the quality.
Yes.
It may run in batch time run, so it
No,
will.
it's not a batch time run, so I would say it is it's also going to be real time because the replication model is something with live iDoc or whatever the replication. It will take 1 or 2 minutes, not much.
Okay, so it's not an predetermined time, so it will available
Yeah,
in
it's
the.
a real time, kind of real time, but all the data
Mhm.
will not be available at this, the moment you approve it. It will, a certain delay, a very, minimal delay.
So okay, so MDG, when it comes to MDG, what is it also? Check the EDAs.
Uh, EDIs in the sense, I'm not getting it.
That means right now that everything is automated, electronic data interchanges. So the order comes to the EDAs, and the
Mm-hmm.
is right now the general data is also linked or the sync to the EDAs should be matched with the batch, a branch number. They are giving a specific branch number for the EDA transactions. So uh, uh, can we configure that into MDG as well?
So, for example, if you're saying that the certain master data are creating using certain, third-party system or whatever the, system is, yes,
It's
definitely.
not a third party, but we have a field like EDA,
Mm-hmm.
EDA group. So we have to enter the code
Mm-hmm.
to match with again it's a third party system. Orders came through the third party software, so it will link to the map to the SAP through a specific number. So that
Mm-hmm.
number is not, right now it become EDA transactions have become very popular. So there is no manual intervention required. So the orders will be taken automatically, and order will be processed and will be sent to the customer. Uh, so that EDA is also as a part of the general data changes. So can we configure that into the MDG?
Yes, so you can repoint that data to MDG, so that
Oh,
whenever
okay.
a request comes in, so I'm not sure how the data is flowing into MDG, sorry, ECC, the current ECC, then we can
Mhm.
repoint it, and we can again create a change request to update again. It's like a field update. So that is something can be done in MDG.
Okay, it's also once we checking the duplication, we also need to check the EDA branches, how it is configured in the system. So just want to check that if even we can also merge that table to this MDG.
So I'm not very have the complete understanding. Maybe so based
No
on we
problem.
can discuss and we can
I'm
I can
also
show you
not
how.
I'm also not well sure about how EDAs are, but I'm working on that, and I know how the system is responding to the each request from the customer. So when I make a change to the customer, I also need to verify the EDA data. Otherwise,
Okay.
what happened is, as you said, for example, if a customer is A, we have a B, C customers. So if we are adding the branch number for A to B, what happened is when the customer is sending the order for the branch A, and we are mapping that we are wrongly added the branch number to the B. What happened is the order will automatically go to the customer B, and it will place the order, and it will send the order to the customer B. It might be in a different city. So
Okay.
if we mapped the system wrongly, what happened is the order will get processed and sent to the different location. There is no human intervention on that. It will change. It will go automatically. So as you said, it will also a cost, very high cost. It will cost to company maybe a huge amount. Maybe they have to cancel the order, or they have to ship the order from that company to that location to the other location. So it will be the cost of the company. So that's a very big problem. Right now we are having the problem. Maybe the divisions are for the same customer, like but they are different branches for the company. But if we change the branch number wrongly to other branch, then what happens is the entire system will get messed. So the orders will go to the wrong place. So we are having that kind of issues in our system, production.
Okay. Yeah,
So it is
these things definitely
very
can be
sensitive. So yeah, tell me.
So these things can be can be implemented in MDG by with certain checks, and if it is a wrong plan, we can calculate how it should be. If it is of a different one, then we can stop the changes.
Yeah.
So those kind of things can be implemented. So
No,
I don't.
because so we are adding the branch number to the. For example, you have a customers like Atlanta, Northbrook, Irving. So it should have a branch number, right? That means
Right.
maybe profit center number. The customer would say like profit center. Maybe Atlanta has one, and Northbrook maybe two. So similarly the EDA will be configured like that: 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So can we, while checking the duplicates, can I add any field to the MDG?
Yeah, we can perform this check, whatever the check which you are mentioning, so that can be enabled. So can to ensure, okay, if this is one, then they should be available in the EDA, and this data should match against that this EDA data.
Okay.
That is
So it's
something
a
possible.
part of derivatives and how
Yeah,
we
the
configure
validations
this.
and derivations. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we can discuss further. So once we start in the session. So any other questions?
No. So
No
what's your
question.
full name, Srini?
It's Srinivas.
Full name?
Yeah, Srinivas.
Oh, you don't have second name.
No.
So are you working in any for consultant or?
I'm working in Germany for an organization.
Okay. So are you currently from Germany?
No, I'm from based out of Bangalore.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. You can discuss with Nikita on the further actions, and then we can start the sessions once you are done with the process, and then we can discuss more and more.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice
Yeah,
day.
thank you. Thank you too. Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.